You're listening to the PRO Media Network. The next level in entertainment.
What's happening, family? Thank y'all for joining us on Ring Kings Boxing. That's right, Ring Kings Boxing, where we in the building. This episode, we're going to be talking about a lot. Manny Pacquiao, Terrence Crawford, who's his next matchup. What's going on with Manny Pacquiao? And the rest, Dillian White and Andy Ruiz is coming to close of words. Andy kind of picking at him, is being exposed, man. There's no way he could beat Andy Ruiz. He got knocked out by cold turkey knocked out. Like they calling it the knockout of the year. But anyway, we'll bring our regular contributor in. I'm Big Q, bringing my regular contributor into this thing. Eddie Too Mean Johnson. What's up, Too Mean?
Yo, what's good in the hood?
Pretty good in the hood everywhere, my friend. Everybody doing okay besides the C19 madness. But outside of that, it's still good enough to talk about some fights going on. And a lot of our talk right now, even though it's starting with the welters, it's going to probably end up with the heavies. I'm going to start off with Terrence Crawford. Now, we talked about this last show, that the fact that Crawford offered Kell Brooks, sent out an offer to him. Well, Kell Brooks rebuffed the offer, said it was a little bit, it was not enough money. 1.5 does seem really small for a small amount of money for a guy like Kell Brooks, who was a former world champion. And, of course, Amir Khan right now, it had offered him reportedly $4 million to fight Amir Khan. So, of course, he's going to rebuff Terrence Crawford's meager $1.5 million offer. Gary Russell Jr. has been really outspoken there, Too Mean. Gary Russell Jr. stepped on the scene and said that, hey, man, I'll take that. I'll fight you. I'll fight you for that $1.5 million. And the Slimmers is getting pretty thin there, Too Mean. I mean, you're looking at Sean Porter, which I think Bob Arum will not direct them into a showdown with Sean Porter. I just don't see that happening. Is there really a legitimate matchup? I know you don't want to see Ugas. They ain't going to put him against Ugas. They're not going to match him up with Sean Porter, even though he's considered the mandatory for his title. They wanted Brooks said, no, that's too little bit of money. They offered to make something shake with Thurman. Thurman said, give me $2 million. They said that was too much money. Now there's recent reports coming out that Thurman said send him another contract offer. And then there's Gary Russell Jr. sitting there. Too Mean, in your opinion, you've been following this stuff. What do you think would be the best possible outcome for Terrence Crawford to fight? What you think which direction it should go?
I'm thinking that whatever offer that Terrence Crawford is offering, or his team is offering, you know what I'm saying, it'll be a plus for any one of them guys. You know why? Because if they beat Terrence Crawford, they rate back at the top. You know what I'm saying? They rate in the picture with the unification bout. You know what I'm saying? Become the undisputed welterweight champion. Their campaign for it is a lot. It looks a lot better and shit. So why not take that money? Because none of them have titles that he offered to at the welterweight division. So that put them right in the picture of what the rest of the champion if they were to beat Crawford. So why not try to take it? You know what I'm saying? So they can get back in the, like I said, at the top of the welterweight division, having the belt. So why not take it? That's what I'm thinking about now. I'm like, I sit back and thinking about it. I was like, shit, why not? See if you can take it from them. You know what I'm saying? Be at the top. So that way you be in the unification bouts. You know what I'm saying? Your name would be mentioned with the, like who's the king of the welterweights. So I think any one of them guys, man, that he offered, take that money. Just like how Mayweather used to do. We talked about this a while ago on the show. He's like, okay, Mayweather was like, give me that. And I said, I'll take less money because I'm looking at the bigger picture and shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to whoop that motherfucker's ass and I'm going to take his title and I'm going to be the man. You know what I'm saying?
But that don't seem to be the mindset of today's fighters. A lot of these fighters, whether they be Kell Brooks, but Gary Russell Jr., who's with featherweight at 125, said that he'll take the 1.5 to fight Terrence Crawford. Right. I mean, he's the only one that's talking like that. So, I mean, why do you think this can actually happen here?
It could happen. We'll see. I mean, that'll be a good fight. But like I said, he's one of them throwback dudes, man. He ain't scared. He's like, look, he fully confident with his abilities, man, his skill set. So he's like, hey, I'll take the money. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know what I'm saying, you look at the big picture, like if you beat Crawford, whoever beats him, like they in there, they at the top. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna get way more money and everything. So, and they'll have a title. So why not?
Right. Well, I mean, that's my thinking too, man. You got that old Mayweather philosophy, and I think that's a great place to think about, you know, to have that type of mentality when you're trying to take it. But I just think Bob Arum kind of is going to guide Terrence Crawford away from dangerous fighters since he's been at Top Rank. The last fight he had was the Mean Machine. I mean, Terrence Crawford's not facing any top-notch talent at Top Rank. I mean, and now, you know, you have sitting there with Sean Porter, who just fought and had a uninteresting fight, in my opinion. It went the distance with an Italian fighter, which Sean Porter power. Where was the power to put this kid away? This guy took a lot of abuse, but Sean Porter, I thought he would be able to get him out of there. He couldn't get him out of there. So I was not impressed with that fight with Sean Porter, despite the fact that he was busy in the fight for much of it. I just didn't like the fact that he couldn't put this kid away, this fighter away. Terrence Crawford, to me, man, I just think that, you know, Top Rank's going to steer him away from dangerous fighters. Guys who, like me and you both agree, actually beat Sean Porter, and they gave him a split decision there. That was wrong. They're going to keep him away from guys. They tried to go after Kell Brook because they see Kell Brook as a fighter that won't conflict with what they're intending to do. Really, the power and the strength of the selection is not with Terrence Crawford, because everybody that is worth anything is in PBC. And Errol Spence is commanding the welterweight division right now, obviously, because if you look at he has 2 belts. Of course, he beat Kell Brook several years ago to take his IBF belt, and then he beat Sean Porter to take his belt, and now he has 2 of the 4 welterweight crowns in the class. Now, the next thing is his plan, and he's announced it to the world, that he'll fight Danny Garcia. That fight's already up and running, and, you know, it's on point. So that'll be the next matchup for him, Danny Garcia, which is a good fight. Now, Pacquiao's sitting in the wing, and we'll give you the latest information on Pacquiao, what Freddie Roach said. But he's waiting in the wings with a belt as well. That he beat down Thurman, who recently said one of the reasons that he lost the fight was because of his hand injury that he sustained, that he wasn't totally over it. Well, might sound like excuses, but still a no. Pacquiao still left. That's what Thurman said.
Oh man, some bullshit.
I'm trying to tell you, but let's pick up on that though, too, man. With that being said, and the fact that the PBC guys are holding the crown in the welters, man. I'm just telling you, the fights that we won't see, the Gary Russell Jr. fight, I really want to see that fight, because that would be a sensational fight. Crawford shouldn't run away from that fight. You have a guy that's a featherweight. He's a featherweight, and he's trying to move up 20 pounds to fight you. So that'll almost be like, you know, that fight would be an Errol Spence, Mikey Garcia type situation, even though Mikey wasn't coming from the feathers, you know, but he was moving up in class to fight in the welters against Errol Spence, who totally outclassed him. I'm not saying that scenario plays, but this is the most interesting fight, and this is a respect fight, a fight that he hasn't had in the welterweight division since he's moved in there. This is a respected fight against a serious fighter who did, if he made up his mind to become a welterweight, he would be a champion, in my opinion. He'd be a very difficult guy to deal with in the welters. So I'm saying Kell Brook fight is a sucker fight, in my opinion. Kell Brook is over the hill. Keith Thurman is a really interesting fight. I would love to see Thurman and Bud Crawford go at it. That's really interesting. I don't think it plays. But if you have a guy like Gary Russell Jr., who is reportedly saying that he'll take the 1.5, why wouldn't you take the fight unless your handlers don't want you to be in a situation where you could possibly lose the belt? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, we'll see. Because like I say, if that fight would sell, I'm saying like how
I think it would, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I'm talking about like sell big, like how when Mikey Garcia fought Errol Spence, he had the Mexican, like the whole country of Mexico, you know what I'm saying, and plus the Mexicans here, you know what I'm saying, and then Errol Spence got a pretty big following too. That's what made that fight, you know what I'm saying. Plus, you know what I'm saying, Mikey called him out, so he's like, okay, why not? You know what I'm saying, makes sense because the dollars is adding up. So, but I don't know if it'll be quite as big as Crawford and Gary Russell Jr. I don't know if that fight would be big like that, but it would be an interesting fight though. I would like to see it too, but I don't know.
Wouldn't it, but it's a more interesting fight. It'll sell because of the bad blood angle. Both guys are well known; they're really good at what they do. But okay, how would you be able to sell the Kell Brook fight if that was the case? How does the money make sense for Bud Crawford and Kell Brook versus it doesn't for Bud Crawford and Gary Russell Jr.?
Yeah, because this thing got a whole country behind him. Kell Brook, there's some big, die-hard boxing fans over there in London. You know what I'm saying? They will support, even though, you know what I'm saying, they all come over here to see that fight. If you know what I'm saying, if there was a fight here, a lot of them guys come over here, man. In big crowds, man. They die-hard boxing fans over there. The whole country over there supporting Kell Brook. You know what I'm saying? That would be more money. That's what it boils down to. Where a fight gonna make the most money? That's the ones they trying to make, which is sad because, like I say, the boxing fans don't get to really see the fights they really want to see and shit, man, because of the fucking money and shit, man.
Yeah, that's always a killer in the moment is the money. If the money ain't right, then you're gonna pass up on the fight. There's so many great fights that we've seen that could have had that angle that didn't move because the handlers couldn't make the money sync together. So let's move to the next discussion. We talked about Pacquiao, how he plays in the welters, but a little bit of information on Manny Pacquiao. According to the DAZN News, Manny Pacquiao will retire after 1 or 2 more fights, says his trainer, Freddie Roach. Freddie Roach says Manny's going to quit and 2 more fights. And let's get into the article. It's from DAZN News. And it says, looks like Manny Pacquiao will not be one of the many boxing names striving to squeeze post-pandemic fight before 2020 is done. Pacquiao will only fight once or twice before retiring, according to trainer Freddie Roach. And even those fights will not be until 2021. Pacquiao, who's 62, and 4-2 with 39 knockouts, last fought on July the 20th, 2019, when he ended the undefeated record of Keith Thurman via split decision in Las Vegas. And I still don't see how that was a split decision to me. I think Manny beat him up pretty good ferociously, but whatever. As one of the most recognizable active competitors, the 41-year-old Pacquiao is frequently linked with countless eligible opponents, but his camp this week laughed off the prospect of him following in the footsteps of former foe Floyd Mayweather Jr. to box UFC star Conor McGregor. Roach, meanwhile, has revealed that there will be no Pacman outings in 2020 and that the clock is ticking on anyone who wants to step in the ring with the Filipino legend. Quote, he won't fight this year, Roach told BoxingScene.com. But if this ever goes away, and I'm not sure it will because it's getting worse and worse, not better and better, but I think Manny will fight once or twice or more before he becomes the president of his country. And then he will retire. Now, Pacquiao has already declared his intention to run for president in the Philippines in 2022, suggesting that all that remains in his ring career is 2 fights in 2021. The win over Thurman drastically increases Pacquiao's chances of finishing up his career already have gone back on a retirement once with a fight or fights in the elite bracket rather than ending with a whimper. A clash with Mikey Garcia was mooted prior to COVID-19, and Terrence Crawford, Errol Spencer, also big name opponents that fans would like to see Pacquiao's face before he calls it quits. Now, that's some of it, the article from DAZN News. Manny Pacquiao will retire in a fight or 2. Now, remember, Manny Pacquiao is PBC. We said this before. The interesting aspect about this to me is the fact that, remember, we talked about Errol Spencer's timeline in terms of who he wants to fight. Danny Garcia, which that fight is already made in for this year. 2021 is when Pacquiao will fight. He will not fight this year, but he will fight in 2021. That is right around the time after this fight's over with, that it will be lined up perfectly for Spence to fight Pacquiao in 2021 for a unification shot, which will be a great and a big money fight as the whole Philippine nation, the whole Philippine country in that region over there who loves Manny Pacquiao will support Errol Spence, who has quite the following in the U.S. So that'll be a real epic battle between 2 champions. And I ultimately think Errol Spence beats Pacquiao. He seizes his belt, and I think that's when Pacquiao probably would retire, depending on how bad the fight is or whatnot. But it'll be a huge and a massive money fight. And then, of course, he would then look at Crawford after that. So you could be looking at somewhere between 2021 and 2022 before you see a Crawford-Spence fight. So what is Spence doing meanwhile? We talked about that earlier. What's your thought process on Manny Pacquiao's 1 or 2 more fights before he retires and become the Philippine president? And that's what Freddie Roach is saying. What are your thoughts on what those 2 fights could be?
Yeah, I think it's perfect timing. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? He really don't have no more to prove, man. He hasn't proved everything. You know what I'm saying? All the different divisions that he won championships at. You know what I'm saying? He's been on the top level for the longest time, man. It's about time you know what I'm saying, he gets out before he gets hurt, man. So I was like, it's perfect timing. But I think he was fighting because he had to, back taxes and all that stuff. If it wasn't for that, I don't think he would have been fighting. I mean, he already proved everything. You know what I'm saying? He already a legend in the sport, so he has nothing else more to prove. But you know what I'm saying? Like I said, some fighters are forced to fight. You know what I'm saying? Because of money problems. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of them wind up getting hurt in that way. I wouldn't want to see him get hurt. You know what I'm saying? Even though he's a beast in that ring. But still, you know what I'm saying? When they get to a certain age, man, you start messing with them youngsters like that. You know, so you stand a big chance of getting hurt, seriously. So I think, yeah, that'd be a good idea for him to take 1 or 2 more fights and, you know what I'm saying, retire.
Yeah, that might not be a bad call on that to me, because Errol Spence and Garcia's fight is scheduled for the 21st of November. And what that does, that takes it, you know, as they're preparing for that November fight, a late November fight, the 21st. After that, that takes you into 2021 if you're Errol Spence and you prepare for that fight against Pacquiao. And then after that, I think Bud Crawford is 2022 if he's still holding on to the title. And that's basically what Al Heyman, and I'm pretty sure that's Al Heyman and Errol Spence's game plan, more Heyman than it is Spence. The lineup being that he controls that he has Manny Pacquiao under PBC, and the only guy outside of the Matrix where do you go if once Errol Spence controls all of the welterweight crowns? He has all 3 of the belts in his possessions. Where the Terrence Crawford goes, he can't go anywhere. So in 2022, you can look at a welterweight title fight between the two, unless Top Rank can make it very interesting for Manny Pacquiao to fight this year by offering him a nice payday. You know, and that's the thing. But if you balk at $10 million, with Thurman offered, Pacquiao would demand double that. He wants $20 million to fight, and he's every bit worth that money to me. He has the entire region behind him, and that's a big money fight that happens. But the thing is, does he take the fight in 2020? He's really serious about not fighting this year, and we'll wait for 2021. And I think he's waiting for a shot right at Errol Spence. And I don't know if there's a bigger fight to be made than that outside of the Bud Crawford. I just don't think Crawford's people is really that motivated to come after some of these PBC fighters like Pacquiao and jump ahead of that time frame, that plan that Errol and Hal Heyman has working to get that crown.
Mm-hmm. And then Pacquiao leave Bob Arum too? That's right. Yeah, I like that. Might be one of the that might be a part of the reason why the fight ain't being made too.
Personal feelings.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. And then like say Bob Arum was handling Pacquiao's career and shit. Why the fuck has he got back taxes like that? Something ain't right.
He was dying king in them.
Yeah, I'm saying that's fucked up, man. I hate when that shit happens.
Yeah, that's the game though, too, man. And man, you talked about why don't some of these fighters open up their own boxing companies? You know, the WBO, the IBF, the WBA, and all these other, they're just boxing companies. And, you know, they go to the athletic commissions to, you know, and all this kind of stuff. But they have an intricate network of stuff tied together. And ultimately, I'll say if you're a person that really want more control out of it like that, that could be something that you would look at doing. But we don't see more of that because a lot of these fighters are like you say, they're handled. But let's get to the some of this heavyweight news we was talking about between White and Andy Ruiz. You know, of course, heavyweight contender Dylan White fired back at some recent statements from the former unified champion Andy Ruiz last month at Matchroom's fight camp in Brentwood. White, who was a mandatory challenger to the WBC title, was knocked out cold in the 5th round of his bout with Alexander Povetkin. Povetkin, who was 41, was down twice in the 4th and appeared to be on the verge of getting knocked out when he landed a huge uppercut. And it was, and Dillian White didn't see it. And me and Tumin talked about this for some time about Dillian White. He's open for the uppercut. He never sees it. Don't look for the uppercut. That's how Joshua dropped his ass, knocked him through the ring ropes when they fought originally. And of course, the fight against Alexander Povetkin, if you watch the footage, Dillian White shot a lazy jab at Povetkin, who slipped up under it and came with a fierce left uppercut. And just Dillian White was gone. He hit him so hard, he was gone, and they had to get that sumbitch up with smelling sauce. But the loss eliminated a big stumbling block to his potential 2020 unification class against Tyson Fury Anthony Joshua that he was calling for. Now, I mean, I've been saying this for a while, and I've said that that this fight, if he ever fought Joshua, again, it'll be the same result. Joshua would knock him out. And I would say Joshua would knock him out because Dillian White's sloppy. He's sloppy. He doesn't move his head. He's a good fighter, don't get me wrong. But he has a lot of really sloppy fighting habits that I don't like. You know, he's gotten a lot. He's gotten bigger since when you seen him fought Joshua. He got bigger. He packed on some muscle, but it's no head movement. He's not very quick. His footwork is not all that. He relatively stands in front of you and tries to outpunch you. You know, so I mean, to me, I don't think he's championship material. especially he's not going to beat a guy like Joshua again. He won't be able to beat a guy like Alexander Usyk. He won't be able to beat Tyson Fury. These guys are really skilled. And even if you match him up against Deontay Wilder would knock the fuck out of this dude, man. So, I mean, like I said, he doesn't like moving his head. He tailor-made for an ass whooping from Deontay Wilder. So, and Andy Ruiz would beat him too. So, like I'm saying, he talks a lot of game, and Eddie Hearn protects him and sets these weird little fights up with him. He'd serve him Alexander Povetkin, who's 41 years old, on the downside of his career, and would shock the world and what could be the knockout of the year by crowning this chump and knocking his ass down to the ground. So what was said between the two? White plans to exercise his rematch clause again in the next fight here, and White was aggressively pushing to get a fight with Ruiz, who had little interest in the fight. They were featured on the same card in December in Saudi Arabia, where White won a tough decision over Maurice Wash on the undercard. You watch that fight. It's just his fights are not decisive fights or against, Ruiz lost a 12-round decision in his rematch with Anthony Joshua in the main event. White has been verbally blasting Ruiz since the start of the year, taking numerous shots at his weight. Yeah, he took shots at Andy Ruiz's weight. He, made fun of him when he lost the belt and all that. But look how it came back home to roost. He said the same stuff about Jarrell Miller, but he's failed drug tests as well. So this man's a hypocrite, in my opinion. According to Ruiz, White has been one of the most vocal trash talkers in the heavyweight division, and it's not looking for sympathy in the wake of his knockout loss. You got canned. He says, stop playing the victim card, bro. You talk all this shit, disrespect your opponents at the weigh-ins, post stupid-ass memes, and now we got to feel sorry for you because you got KO'd? Get the fuck out of here. That's what Ruiz said. I like that. Let me read that again. He says, quote, This is Andy Ruiz now talking to Dillian White, dumbass, saying stop playing stop playing the victim card, bro. You talk all this shit, disrespect your opponents at the weigh-ins, post stupid ass memes, and now you gotta feel sorry for you because you got KO'd. Get the fuck out of here. That's Ruiz. I love that. White had responded poking fun at the body type of Ruiz and alleging that the Mexican fighter is fighting a serious medical condition due to his weight. And Andy Ruiz is glad that we don't have to fight. He's glad the only battle he's got now is just with diabetes. I'm not on him anymore. He's glad diabetes can overcome. Diabetes he can overcome, but he can't overcome me. That's what he told IFTV. I don't agree with that. I don't think most people out of 10 people you ask who know the fight game would pick Dillian White to beat Andy Ruiz in a fight. No, absolutely not. Ruiz will beat him every time they fight because he's sloppy. He's sloppy. Eddie, what you think about this?
Yeah, I think Ruiz will knock him out. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like he'll do it better.
Povetkin did.
Because Andy, he's a lot. I'm saying he throws a lot more sharper punches than Povetkin do, and he ain't a stand up type dude where you can hit him like that. He got a little he got that bob and weaving style with him too.
Yeah, Erky jerky, bob and weaving style that'll give him problems. And he's like I said, this guy's tailor made to get knocked out. He don't move his head. It's not much head movement from this guy. To me, you've seen him fight before. His feet work is not all that either. He does have power, but he has a sloppy style. Remember when he fought Joseph Parker and he knocked Joseph Parker? No, Joseph Parker knocked him down in later on in the fight. And he almost lost that fight. That's what I'm saying. This guy's sloppy, man. A lot of sloppy shit that you can't get away with some of the top fighters in the heavyweight division.
You might need to hire somebody to work on his. I don't know how old is Dillian White.
I don't know. I'm gonna look it up for you though.
Yeah, but he need to probably get somebody. Work on his boxing skill, man. Because I don't know how the fuck you not knock a dude that's straight up and down like Povetkin and shit. You get him down twice, but you can't finish him, and then wind up getting knocked out. That nigga's just straight up right there like a punching bag shit for you to hit him. You couldn't get him out. I don't understand that.
32.
Yeah, 32. He still got, he still got about 5-6 more years maybe. If he don't get hit much, which he do get hit a lot.
He gets hit a lot. Yeah. Joseph Parker knocked him down. The Oscar Rivas fought him, and Oscar Rivas beat him up pretty bad. The fight he just had, the guy he took a lot of abuse from, the last guy he fought in Saudi Arabia. Povetkin got off some good shots on him before the knockdown, although he was able to knock Povetkin down. And Povetkin's a smaller fighter. And Povetkin is not as fast as he is. He was a lot slower, but Povetkin was more technically sound than he was, obviously. Povetkin was still good enough and still young enough to slip up underneath that slow, lazy-ass jab he threw and come out with that mean left uppercut.
Yeah, when you get hit like that, man, that's probably why he talk a lot of shit, too. Probably got a couple of screws missing now since he got hit.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess he campaigned so he can make some money, man. He's talking shit. Getting up under these fighters' skin so he can fight them so he can get paid, man. Right.
Well, that might be the case too, man. But he's I think it's mostly a lot of talk coming from Dillian White. It's the rematch. Povetkin already agreed to give him a rematch later on in this year for another shot at it. Something tell me he'll come back and probably end up winning that fight, which would put him back in the consideration to fight Anthony Joshua or any one of the guys for the belt now that they're in that tournament. So we'll see how it goes. But anyway, that'll do it for the fight on today's show. I'd like to thank all you guys for joining us on Ring Kings Boxing today. As usual, please hit the like button, please subscribe, and please share the show's link on all your social media. Big ups to all of our major fight family members out there as well in this edition of Ring Kings Boxing. Remember, we're doing Ring Kings Boxing every Wednesday at 8 o'clock and Thursdays at 8 o'clock, correct to me?
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
All right, so I'd like to thank all you guys for joining us here. Much love to you. Keep the fight game going strong in your hearts. And from me and to me, thank you for joining us. Peace.
Peace.
You're now listening to the Ring Kings Boxing on the PRO Media Network.
What's up, sports world? The PRO Media Network is on a mission to reach 10,000 subscribers. So besides our regular programs like the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys, the Pelican Post Game Report, and others, if you enjoy our content, please donate at our Patreon page. Also subscribe, comment, and share. And help the PRO Media Network reach 10,000 subs. Peace.
TheWhoThatDaily.com. That's right, TheWhoThatDaily.com. Your one-stop shop for everything New Orleans Saints, New Orleans Pelicans, LSU Tigers, and even the top-flight boxing news. So if you're a Who That and you're looking for a place to stay up on your team, TheWhoThatDaily.com is your site. TheWhoThatDaily.com for the sport Who That